Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. Coming off of a thrilling 4-1 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks, your New Jersey Devils have seven games remaining in the calendar year of 2024. And we're going to take a look, and I'm going to make some predictions for the rest of these games in the month of December, closing out the 2024 calendar year. But before we do so, let's take a look back and see how the boys have performed thus far in December. We start on December 2nd, visiting Madison Square Garden. Oh, baby, this one was highly anticipated by all of us, Rangers fans as well. The New Jersey Devils and New York Rangers facing off for the very first time since the infamous line brawl of last season. This one had a lot of subplot lines, a lot of tension and hype building up to it, and your New Jersey Devils went into Madison Square Garden and put an absolute thumping on the New York Rangers by a score of 5-1. That game was really never in question. The Devils dominated. It was a beautiful performance, and it made a lot of us really smile. Really smile. Bragging rights over my buddy Chris, who some of you know from previous videos and lives. Lots of other Rangers fans in my phone that have been trolling me all of last season. The Devils couldn't beat the Rangers a single time, and it's been a rough go. It's been a rough go. As you know, I've grown up with Ranger fans, and it's been a hostile environment ever since. Love to see the boys get some revenge, beat up on them 5-1 in their own building to start off the month of December. We had a few days off, and we go to December 6th, back at the Rock, hosting the Seattle Kraken, and your New Jersey Devils pull out a 3-2 victory in a closely contested game. Devils kicking off a 5-game homestand, beating the Kraken 3-2. You'd love to see the homestand get off on the right foot. And then we followed up with a stinker against the Avalanche on the 8th, a 4-0 shutout loss at the hands of former New Jersey Devil goaltender Scott Wedgwood. This one really hurt. I actually was at this game live. The Devils were never really in it for the most part, and it was just a sad performance, one that I would like to forget. And quite frankly, one of the worst hockey games I've ever attended live, and probably one of the worst games a lot of you have watched on television. Fast forward 2 days, back at the Rock again for Game 3 of the homestand, hosting Sheldon Keefe's former club, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Devils lose a painful one in overtime. Oof, a tough-fought, playoff-like game. Devils lose 2-1 in overtime on an Austin Matthews breakaway goal. And man, that one stings. I really wanted the boys to get that one for Keefe, obviously for the points in the standings as well. But they earned the loser point in that one, falling in the overtime. Austin Matthews is a freak of nature. And then right back on the horse 2 days later, another hard-fought playoff-like game against the Los Angeles Kings where the Devils gutted out a 3-1 win. And at that point of the season, I would say it was probably one of the better wins of the season, if not the best win of the season. Only to be topped by the most recent game 2 days later, Saturday matinee at the Rock on the 14th, hosting the Chicago Blackhawks and the Connor Bedard Show. And the Devils, what a game for your New Jersey Devils, trailing 1-0 heading into the third period. The Devils dug deep and found an offensive explosion, an absolute explosion, scoring 4 goals in the third period to take the 4-1 victory. And I just can't get over that shift, guys. The Nico Mercer Nason shift leading up to the Jack Hughes goal. I watched it earlier today, probably 3 or 4 times consecutively. I mean, the amount of puck battles and wall battles and almost clears by the Hawks, for that line to have the Hawks pinned so deep and unable to get a clear, they were so gassed and out of it that the Devils were able to change personnel leading up to the moment of the play. The play of that whole sequence was obviously Jesperbratt just running a man into the wall, slamming him, stealing the puck, and feeding Pesce, who ultimately fed Jack Hughes for the goal. But I can't get enough of that entire sequence. The Heischer line shift leading up to all of it. Mercer jumping off. Bratt making the play against the wall, stealing the puck. I mean, Bratt just showing how much heavier, edgier, more violent he is from last season. Jack Hughes with the snipe to finish it off. It was a just absolutely beautiful sequence. Play of the year, in my opinion. Shift of the year. And in the post-game press conference, Sheldon Keefe mentioned that it was probably his favorite goal of the year. I don't think there's another one that comes to mind that's even remotely close, in my opinion. That, to me, was easily the goal of the year because of everything that led up to it. Absolutely beautiful. Devils finish off the homestand 3-1-1, earning 7 of a potential 10 points. Great results, in my opinion, considering the teams that we were playing over that span. And that put the Devils at a 4-1-1 record thus far through 6 games in the calendar month of December, getting 9 of 12 possible points, which is a 750 points percentage. 750 points percentage is out of this world. If the New Jersey Devils can sustain anywhere near that level of play for the rest of the season, we probably would win the division. And I do think the Devils will be in contention down the stretch of the season for the division title. But either way, this team is looking like a team reborn. The defense is getting very stingy, allowing 1- and 2-shot periods. I mean, absolutely love to see it. Making easy work for goaltenders on a nightly basis now. Hopefully we get some of that bottom 6 scoring clicking again. It's been a little bit of a dry spell, and obviously the power play has been just Sahara Desert dry at the moment. And I do expect them to break out of that very soon. And hopefully that power play will just start lighting the lamp regularly. But we look forward to the rest of December, and we look at the next game tomorrow night at St. Louis, 8 o'clock local time for those of us in the beautiful state of New Jersey. And I've been looking forward to this one. I've really been looking forward to this one, I'm not going to lie. Blues recently just got veteran defenseman Cam Fowler from the Anaheim Ducks. He's probably going to improve their club overall. But the main storyline for this one, for me personally, is that we need to get revenge from that November 27th 3-0 shutout loss at the Rock at the hands of the Blues and Jordan Biddington. Another shutout on the home sheet of ice. It was a painful one to watch, and I was furious watching that one. I really was. Really furious watching that one. I feel like the Devils just didn't do nearly enough, didn't show up with their A game for that one, and they got a 3-0 loss to show for it. I am hoping we could play spoiler and just put a beat down on them in their own barn. Need to get revenge. That shutout loss was terrible, and hopefully we don't see the Devils get shut out too many more times over the course of the season. I mean, with the group we have, it's just mind-blowing that we've already been shut out more times this season before the halfway point of the season than we have been in the previous 2 seasons combined, which is like, that's like a crazy thing to think about. Shut out more times through basically 30 games of this year than the previous 2 seasons combined. Completely unacceptable. It's got to change. They got to throw rubber on whoever's in net, whether it's Binnington or not. Chuck rubber at the net, crash the net, make life difficult, play that heavier, edgier, more violent game, and hopefully come out with a huge road victory. But I've been looking forward to this one ever since that loss. It left a bad taste in my mouth. Hopefully we could get some revenge on the 17th in St. Louis. And we look at the Central Division standings to see where the Blues currently are. And I always sort the division standings by points percentage. I don't like doing the regular points, which is the default setting, because a lot of teams have played 3 or 4 more games than other teams. It's not really an accurate picture. So I always like to go by the points percentage when I show these standings. So it's just something to keep in mind, because you might look at this and then look at the standings later and be like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know what happened. So that's what it is. I am always sorting by points percentage. But we look at points percentage, and in the Central Division, the St. Louis Blues are in 6th place. 6th place in the Central by points. Through 31 games played, they are 14-14-3 for 31 points, and their points percentage is .500, which essentially, they're 14-17. They lost 17 times, but 3 of them, they got the loser point. But not very good, and this is a team that the Devils should beat. Now, we've talked about this time and time again. There are no gimme wins in the NHL. No teams are just going to give away points. There's so many things at stake. Points in the standings for them, contracts, personal stats, pride. These guys are professional athletes. Every team has at least a few very good players, and there is no easy wins. On any given night in the NHL, any team could beat any team. That is just a fact. We've seen it with our own Devils over the past couple seasons. They've definitely lost to teams that they should have beaten on paper, and the teams found a way to win. And especially when a goalie gets hot, you can never take any of these games for granted. You can never assume a victory. But on paper, this is a team the Devils should beat. They are a better team then, but this is why they play the games. 31 games, 14-14-3. I mean, come on, guys. You got to get this one and get some revenge. We look at some of their top scorers here. Jordan Kyrou, great young player. Through 32 games, he has 13 goals and 14 assists for 27 points. Robert Thomas with 6 goals and 17 assists for 23 points. And then you see former New York Ranger Buchnevich on there with 21 points through 30 games. Then I'll just leave the list up there for a minute. But you see, this is a roster that quite frankly, does not stack up with the beautifully loaded roster of the New Jersey Devils. It just doesn't, and the standings indicate that. Got to handle business, got to take 2 points from these guys, and we'll see how it goes. And then we go 2 days later at Columbus, at the Blue Jackets for the first meeting of these two teams on the season. And we look at where the Blue Jackets currently are, sorted by points. And the Blue Jackets are in the basement, baby. Firmly in 8th place through 30 games played. A 12-13-5 record with 29 points, which is a .483 points percentage. Again, copy and paste my speech from 2 seconds ago. A team the Devils should beat. Can never assume victories. They're going to be playing for the win, just like the Devils are. But again, a team you got to beat. Got to beat these teams and keep climbing up in the standings. We look at the scoring for the Blue Jackets. And in the first spot, a defenseman, Zach Werenski, through 31 games played, he has 10 goals and 21 assists for 31 points. Wild stuff. A point per game for a D-man. Got to tip your cap. And he will be representing Team USA in the Four Nations face-off. Zach Werenski. And then I'll just leave the rest of the list up here for a second for you to look at. But a couple familiar names on there. We go down to number 6, Damon Severson on defense, former New Jersey Devil. Unfortunately, we lost him after that beautiful 22-23 franchise record-setting season. It was time for Damon to become an unrestricted free agent and claim the bag. And claim the bag he did, getting a fat payday from Columbus. It was unfortunate. A cap casualty for your New Jersey Devils. But through 31 games played, Damon Severson has 6 goals and 11 assists for 17 points. And then we go down to the bottom of the list. Another familiar name, Kevin Labanc. This one's a little bittersweet. He's obviously not lighting the world on fire. But through 26 games, Labanc has 2 goals and 10 assists for 12 points. Now, some of you, or most of you, should remember Kevin Labanc was brought in on a professional tryout for your New Jersey Devils during the preseason. He looked good in camp. He looked stellar, absolutely stellar in the preseason for the Devils, capping off his preseason with a hat trick in Philadelphia in the final preseason game for the Devils while the main team was in Prague for the Global Series. Your boy Ace and my good buddy Jordan were in attendance in Philadelphia to witness Kevin Labanc record a hat trick. My man had a hat trick in the last preseason game in the closing seconds. I think there was like 15 or 20 seconds left in the third period. Gets his 3rd goal for the hat trick. And unfortunately, Fitzy tried to sign him. It didn't work out. There was a lot of stuff with the cap. And they're going to maybe have to send him to the minors and wait for, money to clear. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. The path of least resistance for Labanc back to the NHL was to go to Columbus. I can't blame him for it. It's unfortunate the way it all worked out for the Devils. I would have liked to have Labanc. I know a lot of you would have as well. Not that he was going to be some significant game changer for the Devils per se, but I do think with that beautiful shot he has, we could have used him, sporadically here and there on the power play, and he could have produced in the bottom 6 for us. But water under the bridge, nothing you can do about it now. It is what it is. This Devils team is looking pretty damn good as is right now, and hopefully with a couple tweaks down the stretch as we approach the trade deadline, the Devils just become the juggernaut that we all want them to be. But Columbus, we'll see how it goes. Another game the Devils should be victorious in. And then 2 days later, back home at the Rock, Saturday the 21st, a night game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we go to the standings to see where the Penguins currently are. And not much better for Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Currently in 7th place as far as points percentage go. Through 32 games played, they are 13-14-5 for 31 points. And they're struggling. They are really struggling. Sidney Crosby this past summer signed a very team-friendly deal to assumably retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin, the franchise that drafted him years ago, nearly 20 years ago. And it's going to be curious to see how that all plays out. I am very curious to see if Sid does, in fact, stay on a team that most likely will not be in playoff contention, maybe for the duration of his contract for the next 2 years after this. Or maybe he does decide that, before it's all said and done, I would like to chase one more cup. And if that happens, I believe, like everyone else, he will go to the Colorado Avalanche. He has a strong relationship with Nathan MacKinnon. They're good buddies. They train in the offseason together, and obviously the Avalanche are in pretty good shape to be a true contender for quite a while, in my opinion. And so that would make sense for Sid, I think. Who knows, maybe other teams could get involved if it comes down to that. Or maybe he just says, you know what, I have my cups. I'm going to continue to represent the city of Pittsburgh, be an ambassador, mentor to these young kids, and just continue to represent the Penguins organization until it's all said and done. As a hockey fan, selfishly, I hope he does leave because I would like to see Sid in the playoffs. I would like to see, before his career's over, Sidney Crosby playing some more playoff games. It would be a shame if he's already played his last playoff game and he just kind of fizzles out with a non-relevant Pittsburgh team. But we'll see how that all plays out. We look at the Penguins' leading scorers, and no surprise, Sid the Kid still getting it done nearly 20 years later. It's remarkable the career this guy has had, the just dedication to the sport. He's been a great ambassador for hockey, in my opinion, for his whole career. A lot of people hate on Sid, and I think that's just kind of one of the byproducts of greatness. You know, a lot of the greats got hated on throughout their careers. I do think Sid is one of them. I've always enjoyed watching him play. And he's going to go down as one of the greatest players to ever do it, guys. That's the reality. Sidney Crosby was a generational talent, an absolute freak, and is going to go down as one of the best players to ever play this beautiful game. Through 32 games played, Sid has 8 goals, 22 assists for 30 points, and his buddy right below him in number 2, Evgeny Malkin, through 32 games played, 6 goals, 19 assists for 25 points. I'll leave the rest of this list up there for a second, but I quick scan at number 5. I don't know why. I've just never liked Erik Karlsson. Never did. Through 32 games, he has 2 goals and 17 assists for 19 points. Probably because he's just a defenseman that wishes he was a forward, and he just free roams, usually finishes the season with a minus. I guess you know what it is? The real reason I hate on him is because he won that Norris Trophy a couple seasons ago on a terrible Sharks team. His minus was something crazy. It was like minus, I don't even remember. It was just something ridiculous, but he had a ton of points, and they gave him the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman. And I'm like, you know, how can you be the best defenseman if you're a huge minus and your team sucks, misses the playoffs? I digress. Kind of a rant. You know, I don't like the way a lot of the individual trophies have been handled, namely the Norris. I think it's a sham. You should reward great defensive play because you are a defenseman, but it is what it is. You know, I just find it pretty funny that they just give it to the defenseman with the most points or close to the most points. And then 2 days later, oh, this one is going to be awesome. I'm probably going to attend this one. Not sure. Contemplating going with a Ranger fan or multiple Ranger fans, or maybe it'll be a mixed group. I have to see how this all plays out. A lot of people have commitment issues. When you get to my age, people have kids and responsibilities and all these things, and it's hard to nail people down until you're a little bit closer, even though we're only a week away. I should have firm commitments maybe like 48 hours before. Maybe that's asking for a lot, but all you guys, man, this is Devils Rangers. The day before Christmas Eve, a 1 o'clock game at the Rock. What is it? This shouldn't even be a hard sell. Like when I text you about it, it should be like an immediate yes. But whatever. December 23rd, Monday, Devils Rangers 1 o'clock at the Rock. Rangers looking for some payback after that 5-1 shellacking we gave them in their own building. Definitely left a horrible taste in their mouth, and as all of you know, the New York Rangers are essentially in free fall right now. I mean, they're just a complete disaster. Quite frankly, I'm shocked. In the summer or, you know, maybe in preseason, I forget exactly when, but I've talked about it a few times. I did expect the Rangers to take a step back this season. Obviously, last year coming off winning the President's Trophy for the most points in the league, or I guess, as James Dolan would call it, regular season champions. How do you put up a banner that says regular season champions to your rafters? You should be embarrassed. Ranger fans should be embarrassed of that. But anyway, won the President's Trophy last year, most points regular season, and I did not see them remotely replicating that again this year. I thought they'd be a good team. I thought they could possibly be in contention for the division, but I did not see this fall coming. This is kind of falling off a cliff. They started off the season hot, and in the past few weeks, they've just completely fallen apart. They lost 6 games in a row at one point. Then they beat Montreal, and then the Devils beat them the game after that, so they had lost 7 of 8. And ever since, they had just been accumulating losses. Lots of rumors and turmoil surrounding the team. Trade rumors for some of their bigger name guys like Kreider. You know, just the whole kind of whirlwind of drama surrounding them as they're sinking in the standings. Fans are getting upset. I'm sure Dolan's upset. Shesterkin comes to his senses and signs a big fat extension there before hitting free agency. That was a big story when they offered him 11 years, $88 million, either in the summer or earlier in the season, and he rejected it. That left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but he signs his contract, and here we are. The Rangers in the standings right now are 4th in the division in terms of points percentage. Through 29 games played, the Rangers are 15-13-1 for 31 points. a .534 points percentage. And again, while I do enjoy watching them struggle, I do think they'll eventually, maybe not fully right the ship, but they will not be as bad as they've been lately. And when you have a guy like Igor Shesterkin, assuming he just is not some head case or suffers a bad injury and just completely nosedives and his career just takes a tragic turn for the worst, assuming he remotely gets back to where he was last year, I do believe they are firmly going to be in the playoffs. And once they're in, anything can happen. And that's what I've been telling a lot of you guys about the Devils as well. When people are complaining about every loss and just, this team's not ready and this and that. In reality, all you got to do is get to the playoffs, and then anything can happen. If you get hot at the right time, and especially if your goalie gets hot, and Shesterkin is one of those guys. He is capable of getting on fire and stealing not only games, he's capable of stealing series. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out for the Rangers. I do enjoy their fans suffering. Obviously, they would enjoy our suffering and have for the dark days of the New Jersey Devils, which unfortunately took up the better part of a decade. I'm sad, sad to say. But Devils Rangers always brings out the fireworks. They're going to be looking for revenge after that last game, and they desperately need the points because they've been slowly sinking into the basement. We look at their leading scorers. In the number one spot, the bread man, Artemi Panarin, through 29 games played, has 21 assists for 36 points. Panarin, obviously a very dangerous player for the Rangers. And in the number two spot, a defenseman, Adam Fox, through 30 games played, 1 goal and 24 assists for 25 points. And Will Cooley and Zibanejad, I'll leave all that up there. But, a lot of their fans got excited a couple weeks ago. There was rumors that they were going to get Brady Tkachuk, and then those got shot down by the media. And then the Senators fans and the Ottawa media caught on to it, and then they're talking to Brady about it. It was a whole thing. I don't think they're going to get Brady Tkachuk, and quite frankly, I would be upset and angry if they did. I don't even know what pieces they would have to offer to potentially even get him here without gutting their team. I just don't see it. I don't see it being realistic at all, but who knows? But you already all know if somehow Brady is on the block, and it would take a lot. I would love to see the Devils be in the sweepstakes. It's going to be hard for cap space and things like that, but crazier things have happened. I don't see the Rangers getting them, but there's their leading scorers. 3 days off for the holiday break, the 24th, 25th, 26th, no games. I'm sure they'll be enjoying some time with their families, doing whatever they're going to do. And then on the 27th, Friday the 27th, back in action at the Rock against the Carolina Hurricanes for the first game of a home-and-home back-to-back. I feel like you don't see these too often. And at home against them on the 27th, and then in Carolina the following night, the 28th, Saturday night. And these two, I expect absolute fireworks. Absolute fireworks. Devils and Canes last met on November 21st at the Rock, where the New Jersey Devils pulled out a 4-2 victory. And wow, another tight playoff-type game. Canes have been a winning culture, a winning program for quite some time. It'll never be a cakewalk with them. Rod Brind'Amour is just, in my opinion, a hockey genius, and he's made Carolina, or at least he's kept them relevant for quite some time, even despite losing a ton of players in this past offseason. A lot of people, writers and fans, kind of wrote them off and said, they lost this guy and that guy, and Pesci and Shea, and it seems like they haven't skipped a beat. It really looks like they haven't skipped a beat. The Canes are always going to be in the thick of it, and they're just one of the new teams that I hate a lot. I guess they're not new. My hatred for them hit a new level after the last playoff matchup in 22-23. I've told you guys all before, I started to hate them in the 2002 season when we lost them in the first round, following a season in 2001 where the Devils had a 3-2 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals, blew Game 6 on home ice. I was there for that sorry night. And then they go to Colorado and lose the Cup. A gutting Game 7 loss. And then the following season in 2002, they get knocked out in the first round by the Canes. Kevin Weeks came in, slammed the door on the Devils, had some of the best games of his career, and the Devils were out in the first round after going to the finals the year before and losing in 7 games, and winning the Cup in 2000 the year before that. So, Cup win, followed by a 7-game Stanley Cup final loss, and then knocked out in the first round. It was kind of stunning, and I've hated them, ever since then. And then obviously the 2009 meltdown at the Rock I've talked about on this channel before. Game 7 with the 1-goal lead late, and then the Canes get 2 goals and, whatever it was, in like a minute or whatever in the final 2 minutes of the game to close it out. Stunned. Sat in my seat in the arena for a long time, just in complete disbelief. I felt momentary paralysis. I lost control of my bodily functions and couldn't really move. One of the worst losses I've witnessed live. Extremely painful, and I've hated them ever since. And then that 22-23 series kind of renewed it all and elevated it for me. But we look at the Canes in the standings, and the Devils just passed them last week in terms of points percentage. Canes third in the division through 29 games, 18-10-1 with 37 points for a .638 points percentage. And the Devils were slowly creeping up on them and finally passed them in the past few days or the past week or so. But Canes, obviously a very dangerous team. Lots of guys who've been in the league have been through the playoff wars, and they're going to be looking for revenge on the New Jersey Devils as well from that November game where we took it to them on our home ice. We look at their leading scorers. In the first spot, Martin Necas through 30 games. It's amazing what this guy's been doing. 14 goals and 30 assists for 44 points. Necas almost playing at 1.5 points per game. Complete insanity. And then in the second spot, Sebastian Aho through 30 games, 8 goals, 23 assists for 31 points. And then you got Shane Gostisbehere and Svechnikov. I'll leave that up there for a second. But lots of weapons. We all know, again, Canes, dangerous team. High-level skill. Necas is a beast. Aho's very good. Gostisbehere is very good. Svechnikov is dangerous. They got a lot of dangerous guys. Lot of dangerous guys. I hope we somehow avoid them in the playoffs because I just feel like they're always going to have our number in the playoffs. I don't know why. And I do believe this new look, heavier, edgier, more violent New Jersey Devils club under Sheldon Keefe is capable of beating any team in the league. I firmly believe that, including in a playoff series. But the Canes are one of the teams that probably scare me the most. If I had to pick a few that I'm like, I'd rather someone else knock them out for us. Canes are definitely on that list because Rod Brindamore, man, he finds a way and he gets the most out of his roster. And this club is going to be no different. Going to be a very dangerous out for whoever they face in the playoffs. And I just really hope the Devils don't have to do it. And then finally, the last game of the month of December, closing out calendar year 2024. The Devils at the Anaheim Ducks, 8 o'clock local time for us New Jersey folks. And it's kind of weird. I was thinking about this the other day in a live. So the game is going to end at 10:30-ish, 10:45 or whatever. And I usually start the post-game live. Shout out to all of you who have been coming to the post-game lives. One of my more fun game day traditions, I would say, at this point. I have a whole tradition with food and different things I do during the games when I'm watching at home. But I always look forward to talking to all of you on the post-game live. If you're not familiar, I do a post-game show right after the Devils MSG post-game show goes off the air. Then I jump on. I like to hear, what Bryce and Dano and Spalding have to say after the game, and then listen to the interviews with the players and, most importantly, General Keefe. And then once that's done, I do the post-game live. And so I'm thinking about it and doing the math. On this game on New Year's Eve, it starts at 8 o'clock. The post-game live would technically go through, that's New Year's Eve. It would go through, 12 o'clock. It would start before that and go through the New Year. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about whether I'm going to do it or maybe I'll do it. I don't know. I'll probably still do it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing New Year's Eve. That could throw a wrench in this. Stay tuned on details for that. The Ducks came to the Rock about a month and a half ago on October 27th, and your New Jersey Devils came up with a big 6-2 victory. We saw a Curtis McDermott bout in that one, which, speaking of which, where are the fisticuffs for my man Curtis? Shout out to Curtis McDermott. You all know on this channel, your boy Ace absolutely loves Curtis McDermott. He is the president of the heavier, edgier, more violent club. The New Jersey Devils have an astonishing 10-3-1 record with him in the lineup. A lot of people will chalk that up to coincidence. I do not. Speech for another day. I could talk about Curtis McDermott all day and what guys like him bring to locker rooms and to the team on the ice. But Devils really beat him up 6-2 on October 27th, and they are going to be looking for some revenge as well. And we look at where they are in the standings, and this is another one where you look at and you're like, come on, guys. What are we talking about here? We look at the Pacific Division standings, and the Anaheim Ducks are in 7th by points percentage. Through 29 games played, have an 11-14-4 record with 26 points, a points percentage of .448. And again, this stretch is a lot of teams who are mediocre at best. That might be putting it kind. Quite frankly, these are what people would consider bad teams, copy and paste my little spiel from before. No easy wins. Can't take anything for granted, but on paper, another team the Devils should beat, and for good reason. We look at the leading scorers for the Ducks, and that number one slot there, Troy Terry, through 29 games played, has 8 goals and 16 assists for 24 points. Ryan Strome in the number 2 spot, through 29 games played, 5 goals and 10 assists for 15 points. Frank Vetrano, 28 games played, 7 goals, 7 assists for 14 points, and so on and so forth. A lot of people have been, for whatever reason, at least a few of you have asked me about Trevor Zegras. And while I do think he does have some insane talent, I personally am not interested in the New Jersey Devils ever pursuing him, if I'm being honest. Through 24 games played, he has 4 goals and 6 assists for 10 points. Like, I get it. You know, kids get excited by his dangling and he's doing the Michigan, but I do not think we need another young, unproven player on this roster. I would like to bring in some scrappy men like Paul Cotter and Stefan Nason. I would love to see another guy like that with some scoring knack for either the top 6 or bottom 6, depending. But again, I do think a lot of people are expecting Fitz to make some big acquisition at the deadline, and because of cap space, I don't know that we're going to see that, and I would be fine with that. A lot of times, the final tweakings to put a team over the hump, if you will, or give them that extra boost heading into the playoffs is often a bottom 6 guy, or not a big flashy acquisition, but a guy that fits a role and a need for a particular team heading into the playoffs, and I expect that to be the type of move or moves that Tom Fitzgerald makes. I am not expecting a big flashy name by any stretch, if I'm being honest. We'll see. There's still tons of hockey between now and the deadline, and with injuries and things, anything can happen. But as of today, I'm not expecting anything crazy, personally. But in summary, your New Jersey Devils are off to a phenomenal month of December, playing .750 hockey through the first 6 games, and they got to close out the calendar year strong. They really do. As far as a prediction, I've been kind of on the fence about this one. There's just so many quote-unquote bad teams in this stretch that it's tempting to, go crazy with the prediction. But as we know, the Devils have struggled with some of these bad teams before, and a lot of teams do. It's just the nature of the beast. It's hard to not get carried away and think about, what could be's and what ifs, and, let your imagination get the best of you. Through these 7 games to close out the year, the official Ace prediction is, it's a tough one. There's some rivalry games in here, some teams looking for revenge. There's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, but in the end, there's, 4 teams you could say that are near the basement, if not fully in the basement. I'm going to say your New Jersey Devils go 5-2 and get 10 of a possible 14 points, which by points percentage is 7-14 hockey. I hope it happens. 5-2, 10 of 14 points, playing a 7-14 points percentage would be phenomenal. It would be a beautiful way to close out the year. I would be beyond ecstatic with that. And I think that's very attainable. I really do. But nothing's easy, guys. Every game is a battle. This is the NHL. No one's giving away points. 5-2 is the prediction. And I could say that I could live with a 4-2-1 result. So 4 wins, 2 losses, and an overtime or shootout loss. That would give the Devils 9 of 14 potential points, and that is a 642 points percentage. That really has to be the bottom, really. I would love all 14 points, obviously. Again, I have to be somewhat realistic. I don't think anyone in their right mind could ever predict their favorite hockey team or any hockey team, quite frankly, to go 7-0 over a 7-game stretch. I mean, it's so absurd in nature to ever predict that. So the prediction is 5-2. I could accept 4-2-1. 4-3 would be, in my opinion, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but that's really a D-, I think, in this scenario. Getting 8 of the possible 14 points going 4-3 is a 571 points percentage, which is a good margin less than the pace we're playing at now, and we have to continue to improve, not, regress. 4-3 would be a significant regression over that stretch of games. So, official prediction, 5-2. That's what I'm hoping for. I would love to see 6-1 or 7-0. Obviously, I would love to see it and be wrong. Nothing would make me happier, 6-1 or 7-0. But I'm going 5-2. 4-2-1 is acceptable. 4-3 hurts, but you could live with it. Anything worse than that is a calamity, complete calamity. Anything less than 8 points, I'm gonna be very upset, very, very upset. But let me know your predictions in the comments. I always like to see what you guys are thinking. Let me know your predictions in the comments for sure. Let me know your thoughts on anything I said in this video. I kind of rambled on. Hopefully some of you still make it to this point. Shout out to those who make it to this point of the video. I don't even know how long I've been going on for, but I feel like it's been quite a while. Let me know your predictions. Anything, everything Devils hockey, throw it out there in the comments. I enjoy talking to all of you. If you're newer to the channel, poke around, see some of the videos I've put out recently. Just did a really cool kind of deep dive into Jesper Bratt and just how elite Jesper Bratt really is, backed up with all kinds of stats and things you might not have been aware of. So check out that Jesper Bratt video. There's always stuff going on the channel. If you want to see some warm-up videos, you want to see game recaps, it's all out there. It's all out there. Poke around on the channel and check it out. I'm working on some really cool stuff. Something very cool is coming out soon. And you know I'm always working on something. So appreciate you all for watching. Thank you very much. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.